Well, Patrick and I are building a gate today because we decided to build our gate like a traditional door, and we'll be using hinges and a door latch with a deadbolt. And so in order to accommodate that, we need very tight tolerances. This is going to be the thicker bottom one. Then we have two styles, and then the prettier board will be the 3 rails. And so Patrick right now is cutting the boards. Got these really big clamps specifically for this gate building. And what we were testing right now is overall width of the gate. And we have some more cutting to do. With some careful measurements and making sure that all the 3 rails are exactly the same. A flat surface where we can build the gate, and so we came up with this type of setup. So we clamped all the wood pieces together and measuring to make sure that the width is consistent across the entire gate. We have to mark where the front fascia boards will be, so kind of the spacing between them. So we are marking exactly where they will be. And this is the final look that we decided to go for, and you can see the different boards that we use. So now Patrick is setting up the bit lock jig so that we can drill the holes for the tenons. And now we just have to clean very carefully all the debris inside the holes. We found actually that it's a bit tricky and some of it can stay in there, and so you have to loosen it and vacuum it out. Cutting some dowel pins out of hardwood, and we're gonna have 2 sizes, the shorter one and the longer one for the draw boring. These are just under 2 inch, the shorter ones, and the longer ones are just under 3 inch. So each one of the dowel pins is actually shaved a little bit, so it's easier to get into the hole. So Patrick is now marking where the holes for the dowel pins will go, both on the stile and the rails.
So then as it goes through, it has the opportunity to catch more of the redwood and slide against it instead of pulling it crooked like that and then tearing out the hole.
Okay.
So we have to shave down the side of the tent of the dowel slightly so that
Now Patrick is drilling all the holes on the stile, and also later we'll be drilling the holes on the rails. So we decided we number each tenons, and the arrow is pointing towards the rails, so it's a direction. And the reason for this is because we're going to drill the holes in the tenons, and some of them are going to be offset for the draw boring. So it's really, really important to know where the offset holes are located. So we had test trying putting the stile on the rails. As you can see here, the rails still don't have any of the holes for the dowel pins yet, so we're just testing. And here we have the holes in the rails as well. So we're just about ready to mark the offset holes. And so we clamped everything together. As you can see, we even put the dowel pins, and that is just to keep everything together as Patrick is marking the offset hole. Drilling all the tenons at those marked spots that we did before. As you can see, there's about 1/16 of an offset in the holes between the tenon and the board. These are the finished tenons, all marked and ready to go. Patrick and I are just practicing a little bit because once we actually start using glue, we only have about maybe 10 minutes to get everything assembled and put together. And so we're kind of having a mini assembly line and trying to figure out who's doing what. And here we are. So the way we decided to do is we have kind of start at the end. So Patrick is putting glue in the holes on the first rail, and then he passes the glue to me, and then basically I do the same as he kind of putting with a brush the glue in all the crevices. And once ready, he'll put the glue on the tenon and insert it, and then basically position the rail up. And so I'll do the same thing. We'll switch to the next 2 rails and do the same thing there. So that numbering that we did earlier is actually quite handy, because this whole process is maybe 10 minutes before the glue sets, and it can be quite stressful. There's a lot of steps, a lot of things need to be done, and you don't want to be thinking if you are positioning that offset hole in the right direction. And so having everything numbered and ready to go is so important and can really save you some headache. So now all the rays are vertical, and we are putting the glue inside the holes on top, getting ready to put the second style on. Now that the second style is in, we actually gonna place the gate horizontally and clamp it, and we'll put the dowel pins in. Especially if you're working with somebody, this is the perfect time to clean up some of the excess glue that seeped out during this process. And Patrick is putting the dowel pins in. First we put in all the dowel pins in the rail. This is where the holes are not offset, so they should go fairly easily in. And what I'm doing, I'm actually shaving even more of those 3-inch longer dowel pins, the ones for the draw boring. Basically what we found in a couple first tries is that that offset hole, basically the dowel pin wasn't going as smoothly as we wanted, and it was chipping away some of the wood. And so I was basically in the midst of this process trying to make it a little easier for the insertion of the dowel pins as Patrick was punching them in. These are the Miller dowels that we're going to use for the top rail, and a special drill bit to make the holes for that. And now we're just gluing that top rail, and we'll clamp it together while it cures. So instead of using screws, we are using these Miller dowels, and with some glue and the special drilled hole that we did earlier, and then you just hammer them in. Here we're just routing out the mortise on the stiles for the hinges. Later on we'll do the same on the post where the gate will be attaching to.
Just round the edge, then we'll get ready.
Typically you can purchase off-the-shelf jigs to create these mortises, but Patrick created our own just because of kind of how customized this gate is. Probably the most rewarding part of this process is to finally install the gate. We decided to seal the wood that will be behind those front fascia boards, and that's why we're only doing this face of the gate. For all of those front facing boards, we are marking where the screws will go. And for the consistency, we're also routing each board and sanding it a little bit. One done and 12 more to go. We got our hardware for the door and latch. And now we just have to prepare the bore holes for both the deadbolt and the latch. We decided to go with the wood door stoppers. So it's just going to be this piece of wood on both sides, a little bit of round at the edge. Such a fulfilling feeling to have our gate functional. Our latch works and the gate can be locked with a deadbolt. And here we are. We finally did it. This is our finished gate. It is stained. Everything is installed. Our latch works. The deadbolt works. And we're excited to start using it. Thank you so much for seeing our journey with us. Until next time.